I hope I can deliver this the way I feel. I'm just... And I'm going to do my best to preach about 20 or 30 minutes. And that's going to be about, I hope I can do this. 2 Samuel chapter 23, verse 11. And after him was Shammah, the son of Agi, the Harite. And the Philistines were gathered together in a troop, where was a piece of ground full of lentils. They say it was a bean patch. Now you got to get this. The Philistines have gathered a troop. And they're standing on one side of that bean patch. And it says the people fled from the Philistines. And then it says this. But he, talking about Shammah, stood in the midst of the ground and defended it and slew the Philistines. And the Lord wrought a great victory. He stood in the midst of that bean patch and defended it. Now I've got to be honest with you. I'm not going to defend the bean patch. I ain't going to defend a tomato patch, a watermelon patch, a pea patch, or a barley patch. I ain't defending a garden. So pray tell me, why would a man, when everybody else left him, stand in the middle of a bean patch and defend it when he could go somewhere else and plant another one? Look at somebody and say, don't abandon your harvest. Look at him and say, don't abandon your revival.
Come on, yes.
Look at him and say, it is time to run now. Clap your hands to the Lord. Lift your voice to this King of Kings. He is so holy and so righteous. We praise you, Father. In the name of Jesus, you can be seated. Shammah is one of David's 30 men, chosen 30 men, called the mighty men of David. In that 30, you will find that he is the chosen, one of the chosen 3 out of the 30 to lead the 30, to help lead those 30 men. He is not some common everyday soldier. He is an elite force among the elite. He is a soldier in David's army.
Right. Come on.
As a soldier, he understands his responsibility. That there are times when you're going to have to fight regardless.
Right.
That is the nature of a soldier.
Right.
Look at somebody and say, that's the nature of a soldier.
Nature of a soldier.
I know that we have the pictures and the commercials of soldiers. And it shows them enjoying themselves, driving tanks and flying jets and doing all this other kind of stuff on the ships. And that's all glorious. And they go around the world and do all this other kind of stuff. But the fact is, a soldier is not a soldier unless he's learned how to fight.
That's it.
The uniform does not make a soldier.
Come on, that's right.
Just because he has the right uniform and he's called a private or he's called a lieutenant or a general, his position does not make him a soldier.
Right.
What makes him a soldier is he understands at any moment I must fulfill that purpose in which I call myself a soldier. And the only reason that I call myself a soldier is because I am a fighter. And that's the purpose of being a soldier, is to be a fighter. And also, the Scriptures calls us soldiers of Jesus Christ.
Come on.
Paul would tell Timothy, endure hardness as a good soldier. Endure hardness means to abide under. It pictures someone who patiently waits or continues doing what they need to do no matter the circumstances or the situations. That because they are a soldier, they do not run when times get hard. Come on, somebody. And therefore, as a soldier in this army called the Lord, I must learn to continue or abide even when times get very hard. That's why the writer says, let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not. The victory does not go to the one that runs. The victory doesn't go to the one that quits. The victory goes to the one that has learned his position as I am a soldier. As therefore I'm ready to fight anytime the battle comes. I'm ready to do what I'm called to do. Amen. And so as a soldier of Christ, we all have battles to fight. The weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God, the pulling down of strongholds, Paul said. In Ephesians 6, he said, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers and rulers of the darkness of this world and spiritual wickedness in high places.
Right.
The word wrestle speaks of someone who is in a spiritual conflict or a struggle. And Paul says, understand this, your whole warfare, your whole battle, it is never with flesh, it's never with blood. If you're having to fight something in the flesh, understand there's a spiritual aspect behind it. Quit praying against the flesh and start praying against the spirit. Come on, somebody. He will then begin to say, wherefore take unto you. Everybody say, wherefore. Wherefore take unto you the whole armor of God. Watch this. Why? That you may be able to withstand in the evil day. The word wherefore points to the previous fact. What is that? You're fighting something spiritually. And so Paul says, therefore or wherefore, you need the armor of God on your life. Come on, somebody. This is why you need the armor of God. It's because every battle that you go into, it's not with flesh and blood, it's with spirit. And so you can't fight it with carnal things, you got to fight it with spiritual things. Come on, look at somebody say, I'm a soldier. Because I'm a soldier, I don't have to have my back patted to get me to feel good. Come on somebody, I don't need a Christmas card. I don't need a birthday card. I don't have to have a phone call. You don't have to come visit me. You don't have to encourage me. You don't have to, come on somebody. You see, you know when you become a soldier. You see, when you become a soldier, nobody has to show up to encourage you to fight or stay in the fight. Nobody has to encourage you to come to church. Nobody has to encourage you to stay in the prayer room. You understand I'm a soldier, and the battlefield's in the prayer room. I don't have to be encouraged. I can encourage myself in the Lord. Look at somebody say, are you a soldier? Yes. Amen. So we look and we find that Shammah and others are in a patch of lentils, or as one writer says, a barley field. The reason one writer says it's a barley field is because the Hebrew word for lentil and barley is almost the same. It was harvest season, and now watch this, it's harvest season, Brother Matthew. It's time for harvest.
Right.
And they're in their bean patch, if you would please. And they, Brother Jeffrey, begin to gather the harvest in. And so they are there working with tools that will bring the harvest in and help harvest the crop. And it was at that moment while they were working the harvest, while they were trying to gather in what they had been working for so long, it was at that moment that the enemy snuck in somewhere and began to attack them.
Right.
And threatened to take the patch of lentils. Understand, it was harvest time.
Right.
And the Philistines have invaded and threatened to take the patch of lentils from them. They were going to take, what were they taking? Their harvest.
Right.
They had no idea. They had no thought of an attack from the enemy. They were prepared to gather in the harvest, but was not prepared to fight. And out of nowhere there was an attack while trying to gather in the harvest. They are prepared for harvest, but they were not prepared for battle. Can I tell you, sometimes the battle chooses you. And sometimes the battleground chooses you. You don't get to choose the battleground. You don't get to choose the battle. Oh, you ain't got it yet. You ain't got, you see, sometimes the battle is with your kids. You didn't choose that. And the battleground's in your house. Or the battleground's in your spirit. Come on, somebody. You don't get to choose. But see, as a soldier, I don't choose the battleground. He chooses the battleground. I just got to be ready to fight. And Nehemiah, now watch this. It was Nehemiah and his servants that were building the walls of Jerusalem. And their enemy heard that the breaches, which was the holes in the wall, were repaired, and that the walls were now beginning to go up. And the enemy, Sanballat and Tobiah, decided to fight against Nehemiah and destroy the work of God. And it was known to Nehemiah the intentions of their enemy. And the first thing Nehemiah and the people did was they prayed. Well, that didn't sound good, did it? They prayed. In other words, Nehemiah went to God before he went to battle.
Come on, yes.
You see, too many people want to go to battle before you go to God. Listen, if you don't hear nothing else I'm fixing to tell you, you listen to what I'm fixing to tell you. Don't listen to all these people that don't know nothing about prayer because they don't never pray and they don't never do nothing like that. You better listen to your pastor. Every battle that you face spiritually will be won or lost. Not running your mouth on the telephone, not going to your neighbor's house, not running down the road telling all this trash. Your battles will be won or lost in the prayer room in the home. You're either going to win it or lose it in the prayer room. And you can't win the battle when you stay out of your prayer closet. Because prayer, not your tongue, prayer is the greatest weapon God gave you. Come on, somebody. Because the fact is, you can talk about how bad it is. You can talk about how rough it is. You can talk about all the situations. But until you go to the only one that can give you victory and get on your face and start praying, you're going to lose this battle. Come on. How many more battles you got to lose on your own before you realize you need help in this thing? Amen. Before Jesus faced the betrayal of a friend and the forsaking of all friends, before he faced false accusers, and before he faced a mock trial, the beatings of the Romans whip, before he faced a wooden cross and 3 nails and being stripped of all of his clothes and bared naked for all of Israel to see and all the strangers of Jerusalem, before he seen all of that, before he was hung between two thieves on the cross, before he was falsely accused, before he ever done anything, before he ever faced anything like that, you'll find that he first prayed in the Garden of Gethsemane. It was in that prayer that he battled his will to live. Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. But it was also in that where he wrestled with his will, and he wrestled with the will to live and the will to obey the Father. But it was also in that prayer meeting when Jesus finally defeated his own will and said, Father, not my will be done, but your will be done. And he didn't die, listen, he did not die on Calvary first. He died in a prayer in Gethsemane first when he said, not my will, but thine be done. There's nothing to stop him, nothing to keep him. Devils couldn't, come on somebody, because if you're going to win the battle, you'll win in the prayer room. Look at somebody and say, how many more you got to lose before you start praying? How many more you got to lose before you start praying? How many more battles you got, to spiritual battles you got to lose before you realize that your pastor can't help you? It's your battle. How many more people you got to ask to pray for you before you start praying for yourself? Because the fact is, I can't pray you out of it. You can only fight this thing yourself. It's your battle. It's not mine. It's not Matthew's. It's not Jeffrey's. It's not whoever. It's your battle. God chose it for you. You got to fight it. I got my own to fight. And you got yours to fight. Come on, somebody. And Nehemiah tells the people, he says, while they're building and the enemy's threatened, he said, remember the Lord, for he is great and terrible. He said, fight for your sons, for your daughters, for your wives, for your houses, and your brethren. And it says, from that time forth, they built the wall with one hand and held a sword in the other. And Nehemiah was having revival. Israel's having revival. The walls are being built. The temple's going to be built. The breaches are being fixed. And the gates are being set up. And all this stuff is happening. Revival in Israel. Shammah's having a harvest. He's waited on for so long. It was at that moment the enemy decided to attack without warning. You must remember that God calls you to be a soldier. And when you start having revival, the enemy will always shook to take from you what God has meant for you to have. You didn't hear me? Hell is not going to just lay aside and let you have a good time. Hell's not going to lay aside and say, leave them alone. They're having revival, praying people through. Hell's not going to leave you alone. About the time you think you're okay, hell's going to show up on your doorstep with a battle that you're going to have to fight. There's usually a battle over something that you didn't think you was going to have to fight over. But you better make up your mind. I'm going to fight. I'm not going to lose. I'm going to win. And his weapons are non-traditional weapons. And those weapons are jealousy, division, and disunity. He'll use doubt, fear, and unbelief. He'll use bitterness and unforgiveness. He'll use your past and cause you to question your anointing in your life. He's going to throw everything he can at you to get you to quit and give up and throw in the towel. But here's what you got to learn to do. You got to learn to put a sickle in one hand to gather the harvest, and you got to learn to hold a sword in the other hand. You got to learn to put a spade in his hand to lay brick, and you got to put a sword in this hand. And you got to let the devil know, I got to work on one side, but anytime you get ready for a fight, I'm ready to fight you. I'm not afraid of you. I can fight or I can win. It doesn't make any difference to me. But you got to make up your mind and do both of them. Look at somebody say, I can work and fight. Yes, sir, I can work and fight. I can lock doors and I can fight in the prayer room. I can shout this morning, come on, tonight. And I can fight tomorrow when I get on tonight when I get. Doesn't make me any different. I don't know, I'm not worried about the battleground. I ain't worried about what it's fighting over. All I know is this bean field belongs to me and you ain't giving it. You better remember why you're fighting. I told you I ain't going to preach long. I'm about through. You better remember why you're fighting.
Right.
Why you're fighting for revival. Why you're fighting for a harvest. Because that revival, that bean patch, may only be your son or your daughter or your grandchildren or your children. Your revival or bean patch may be your spouse, your family, your brothers, or your sisters. That little bean patch may just be that little neighborhood that you're living in. It may be a small bean patch of a half an acre or quarter acre. Or it may be a bean patch of 100 acres. But the fact is, it is your bean patch. Nobody's going to fight for your bean patch. You got to fight for it. And the enemy's showing up to make sure you don't have a harvest. Well, how many going to get up and fight and say, oh, I've been here before. I've done this. I've done rode this horse. I've been in this rodeo. I've done been here. You got to understand that if you lose this bean patch, if you lose this revival, and you lose this harvest, it's going to affect everybody. So you can't afford to lose. It may be a small bean patch, Jourdan, but the fact is if you lose it, there's more than you that's going to lose the bean patch. So somebody's got to make their mind up to fight and to win. I'm sorry, you be seated. And so when the enemy shows up, everybody else runs to the hills. Everybody else take off to caves. Everybody else runs. I don't know where they went, but they took off and left him standing. Ain't nothing like somebody leaving you and forsaking you while you're in trouble to make you feel loved. And so here he is standing, Brother Derek, in the middle of this bean patch, you might say. This small patch of ground that's got a harvest that's ready to pick. And he chose to look around, and everybody has done left him, and he's standing there. And Shammah makes his mind up to stand. The Bible says he stood in the middle of that patch of lentils. He stood in his harvest field, and he fought for what was his. He didn't run after nobody to say, would you please help me? Would you please come back over here and help me? I can't do that. No. He said, you know what? This is my bean patch.
Yes.
Let me tell you why a man would not leave a bean patch or a barley patch, whichever one you want to call it, lentil patch, whichever one you want to call it, or a pea patch. You know why Shammah would not let Jeffrey leave that patch? I'm going to tell you why. It's because as small as it may have been, he understood, if I give this bean patch up, they'll want the next one. Oh, you didn't get it. If I give this one up, when they get through with this field, they're coming over the other. Come on, they're going to come get the next one. He knew if I forsake this harvest, I'll have to forsake the next harvest because they're not going to just stop with this one. So he made up his mind, I'm going to take a stand in the middle of this harvest. Because the fact is, the battle will not end if I do not stand. Somewhere you got to make a stand. If you don't stand now, where are you going to stand? Because it ain't going to quit. Maybe, Brother Jeffrey, just maybe, that him knowing he was a soldier, just maybe, Brother Matthew, that he understood, I've had enough. I've lost enough. I've given up enough. I've called somebody. Have you ever been in a situation where you just had enough of something?
Come on,
I mean, you had enough of it. You had enough of it. And when you had enough, you acted in a way that was totally out of your character, and people went backwards and people's mouths flew open, and they said, that ain't like you. That's not the way you act. And you look up and say, but I've had it up to here. I've had enough of it. I've had all I'm going to listen to. I've had all I'm going to take. I'm tired of backing up. I'm tired of backing down. I'm tired of quitting. I'm tired of giving in. I've got a heart. You got to make up your mind that he wants everything you got. And you don't give up enough ground. You give up enough revival. You give up enough harvest to turn this train upside down. When you going to make up your mind and say, I've had enough. I've had enough. I've had enough. Look at somebody and say, I've had enough.
I've had enough.
Because if you give this one up, he's going to take more. If you run from this revival, you're going to have to run from the next one. So you need to come to the point and say, I've had enough. I've had enough. I refuse to forsake or abandon my harvest. I will not abandon my revival because it gets a little hard. I will not do it when everybody else just stops doing it and they don't want to do it. I will not abandon my harvest. Because you got to make up your mind. And I don't care, Brother Matthew, if you don't have revival, that's your field. You can give it up if you want to, but I'm going to have one in mine. Now, it may not be 100 acres, it may be a quarter acre, but it's still mine. Woo! Look at somebody say, I'm going to have revival. I'm going to have a harvest. Look at them say, I'm not going to turn around. I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to throw in the towel. I'm going to have a harvest in one hand. I'm going to fight in the other hand. I'm going to gather souls in one hand. I'm going to go to the prayer room and fight. I'm not giving it up. I'm not throwing the towel in. I'm going to have it where anybody else has it or not. Get somebody say, I'm going to have it.
We're going to have it.
Let's stand. It's your patch. Play something, sister. So it's your revival. Sister Ashley, it's your bean field. It's your bean patch. It may not be big, but it's still yours. You know that Sister Kathy, that patch is so small. It's what you've been praying for. It's what you've been laboring in. And hell wants it. The size is not the point. It's to keep you from having what God promised. To discourage, depressed, because your spirit to fall hard, not to have faith. The size is not the problem, because see, your patch ain't the only one they're trying to get. See? It's the fact that it will destroy your faith. Size has nothing to do with it, Sister Tracy. See, if they can take what belongs to you, and they can cause you to question God. It's not even the harvest that they want. They just want your faith. God said, this belongs to you. And now you're ready to get it. And the enemy shows up in your house. And now you got to fight for something. Most people just throw it in the towel and say, this can't be God. And they do nothing. And here we go again. We give up another harvest. We give up another revival. Because it just got too hard. We give up our miracle because it seemed to be just a little too hard for us to attain. When are you going to realize that every time you get ready, the enemy's going to be standing on the other side of that bean patch and say, you can't have it, we got it. When are you going to quit running in fear and doubt and unbelief and say, well, this is just the way it's always going to be? Can I tell you that this morning with all them people showing up and praying and following, it's just a sample of what's fixing to happen. Now you can have your bean patch in the midst of it, or you can lose it, either one. But that lady was on her knees over here was one that they knocked on the door. They came to church on her own this morning. And God touched her. And God ministered. And she was being back tonight, but she's got to work. But she wanted to be back tonight. She's going to be back. That's part of our harvest. But you got to understand, hell's going to show up. Because hell don't like it. You better recognize the enemy. We done been here before, but we ain't giving it up no more. Somebody say, I ain't giving it up. So tell me, what are you fighting over? What is the bean patch you're fighting over? Your family? Is it children? Grandchildren? Mom, dad? Sister, brother? What are you fighting? Neighborhood? What are you fighting over? What is it that you prayed about? You sought God about, and God give you a word about it, and now you're struggling to even believe for it because the enemy showed up and told you can't have it. What is it? That's what you got to fight for, and you cannot fight for it until you get in the prayer room, until you get on your knees and quit making excuses why you can't pray all day long. For some reason you can't find 30 minutes to fall on your face before God and realize I've lost this battle so many times I'm tired of trying. So God, now you got to help me. I've run too much. So now God, you got to help me. And when he took a stand, look at somebody and say he stood. Can I tell you that sometimes standing is a victory in itself? Sometimes just standing is a victory itself. So when he took a stand and said, I've had enough, that's when God came in. Because God understood it's a do or die situation here. And so he drew a line in the dirt in that bean patch, Sister Julie, and looked at his enemies and said, if you get it, you'll have to kill me first. But it's not going to be given to you. You'll have to take it. Because I won't give it to you. Too many of us just give it up. That's why you keep getting hit. It's time for you to stand like a soldier. It may not be the battle you wanted to fight. It may not be the battleground you want to fight on. But the fact is, that's what God chose for you. Now, are you going to lose? Or are you going to win? Are you going to throw it all in the towel again one more time and make excuses why we can't have revival, why you can't have revival, why we can't have harvest? Oh, it's too far to drive. It's too hot. It's too this. It's too that. Are you going to make that? You're never going to be any different. In fact, you've got to make your mind the situation ain't never going to change until you change. What are you going to do? Because God wants to give this church revival. And God's trying to give this church harvest. We got to make up our mind. Are we going to give it up one more time and and turn around 2 years from now again and get in the same place, or 3 years from now, get in the same place, and God's trying to draw people to us, but we make every excuses in the world why we need to give the bean patch up. What are we going to do? Because the fact is, it's revival. These children are depending on us to have revival. You need to get somebody by the hand and say, go with me. I'm not running no more. I'm not making no more excuses. You need to come up here and lift your hands and say, God, I will not abandon my harvest. You've given it to me. You promised it to me. I'll have to fight everything in the world, but I will not abandon the harvest.